Did I ever tell you, Susie, about how manicures have been like a big source of evolution for me?
I think I remember this story, but like vaguely. I wanna hear it again. Tell me.
Okay. So I talked about this in our newsletter this week, but one of my clients sent me a quote that she saw on a billboard, which was awareness plus action equals change. And it reminded me of this story about my nails and really more about my advice of biting my nails. So about 17 years ago, whenever I was working with with my coach as a client, I told her just like how ashamed I was of how my hands looked, and I had like so much tied to like my nails. Like what kind of a person does this? This was me judging myself. I'm not judging people with nails, so don't go there. But for me, I made like, oh, the fact that I bite my nails and have this bad habit says so much to me about myself as a person. And it was like, like I couldn't take care of myself, like I didn't have any self control, and just all this stuff was like wrapped up. So I was just like, hey, I want to be a person that has nice nails. And so what she said next, I was a little annoyed with, but I understood, which she was like, hey, look, we can't get you to stop biting your nails until you actually start to notice when you put your fingers in your mouth. So that's the awareness piece, right? And so I was like, oh, wow, I don't even know if I know. Like, when do I do that? Why do I do like, it was literally like I had no, like, consciousness of when the action was taking place. And so we talked a lot about how could I start to notice when did I do this, right? And so I joked in the newsletter how that's actually why that nail polish that has the bitter taste, that
Yeah, yeah,
you
you
that
remember
you
that?
can get,
Mhm.
it's like forced awareness because it's like, oh, gross. And so all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait, okay, they're in my mouth. And then at that point of awareness, I could decide what to do next. So then there was a fork in the road. Do I take my hand out or do I bite my nails? This isn't really about the nails, right? Because you can see how like it can be applied to so many things, which is a lot of times we can't make change, right? Until we have the awareness, take a different action, and then that equals the change. So I have more to say, but I just wanted to pause right there and see
No, I'm, like,
what
at
you
the
think.
edge of of my seat because I'm kinda remembering this story, but, like, that's I'm loving the awareness piece, and I love that there was something there for you, a tool that you can actually catch that. Because I have to say, when it is typically a thought or something, it's a little bit harder, but this is, like, a physical way of showing how great
Hmm.
awareness can really make
Yeah.
such an impact, but keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So that didn't work. Like
Mm,
I became aware and I still bit my nails.
yeah.
And like that's a whole other story. And we could talk about that maybe on a different time. But like I had to do a lot of work around like why. So it turns out it's a nervous habit. And so then why did I get
Why you were
nervous?
biting your
And like,
nails. Okay. Mm.
yeah, so like there was a whole like trail of things to unpack as to why I got nervous. And I got so good that I could literally like, I could pinpoint, like, when I was gonna do it because I had gone through, like, the beliefs and the situations and kinda, like, what brought it up. Couldn't do that really without the awareness of when it happened, of course, right? So, that's a whole exercise but I don't wanna talk about that. What I wanna talk about is that I actually think that sometimes you can take a different action that can give you the results and also help you create the awareness. And so what I started to do was get manicures, get gel manicures. So yes, was I embarrassed to go in with like short nails? And my nails are still kind of short, but they're longer than they used to be. But I would go in, get gel manicures, which like make my nails really hard, like harder. And so two things happened. Like number one, it was like, oh, I'm a person like I like how my hands look. But I just got a manicure, so I'm like
So
over
like,
that,
yes.
right?
Mhm.
So it's like, oh wait, I'm a person that has nails that I like, which was the change that I wanted, right?
Mhm.
And now, like, they're hard to like, right? So it's like, oh, because I made the change, meaning get or took the action to get the manicure, that gives me the awareness of when I put my fingers in my mouth, like, oh wait, okay, yeah, don't mess up your manicure. So again, this is all very. I'm not here to give you beauty tips or whatever, though. I like my non-toxic gel manicures. It's that sometimes you need to put in an action to help with awareness and create the change. For me, awareness at the beginning was not enough. I couldn't make the leap to doing something different. And so then I felt like failing because the change didn't happen until I put in this change or this action to like create the change. Yes.
Good question. So
Susie.
she picked me. Um, so what happened with your nervousness? Do you feel like now I'm not even gonna answer that for you. Just what happened with your that nervous feeling now if you don't you know what I mean?
Well, it's really interesting. I know exactly like when that's a trigger.
Mm.
I'm not gonna say that it's like I know the trigger. It's a type of work that I do that personally makes me really nervous. And I was just it was like part of the anxiety around that work and like how I dealt with my feelings of inadequacy and nervousness about a type of work that I was doing is like the primary thing. And so, that's a whole thing. That's what I was saying. That's a whole thing to unpack around that. But what's really crystal clear is that, yeah, I know I don't just like randomly bite my nail. Like it is tied to a thing that I have more awareness around and like am working through. It's not totally undone for me, but I'm really aware, right? And there are more things to do around that nervousness, mostly having to do with how long do I then avoid that work?
Yeah.
Things like I mean, like, look, now we're at like we're pulling the thread on a sweater and like the whole thing can unravel, which
I
is what
want
we do with our clients.
totally, totally. I'm like, I wanna go deeper. It's, it's funny because I had something like that, not necessarily around a nervous habit or anything, but something that I recognized that I did, and then once I started catching it, really saying out loud that I was doing it. So my specific story is not that it really trying to think if it ties to what you were saying, but it just kept coming up as you were talking. So one of the things that I did, and I didn't know that I did, was always trying to prove that I was right with my husband. Like it wasn't, I didn't
Okay.
even recognize this was something like I was like trying to be like self-righteous, right? Always defensive and stuff, right? And I came into coaching because I was working on my relationship with my husband. So this is one of those things that I was just discovering about myself and how I was contributing to the failure of my marriage at that time. By the way, we're still together. But just having that one feedback that I do that, and this is the reason why I pointed at like, oh, catching the thoughts or catching these other things that aren't physical feels harder. How cool for you that it was this physical piece that you could use. But I did actually have my husband, which still felt annoying that he would point it out. I did ask him to once I realized that that's what I was
Once you were
doing.
open,
Once I was open, it took a moment to get open, but I opened. It was hard, but I did, and then I started to notice, like you, like what was the trigger? What was making me feel this way? And I noticed it was around other people. I didn't want to be embarrassed, right? It had these other things that I was really trying to safeguard. And then we were at a restaurant with some friends, and we were I don't know if I told you this story, Angie, but we were out, had some drinks, and then an argument came up. And I started to dig my heels in and then started to do my thing. And then I caught myself. And I went, whoa, sorry guys, I'm just trying to win this argument. Everybody got quiet. And I'm like, so now what do we do? What do we do with this? I was like, I was so proud of myself. And I just stopped and my husband was like, who is this person? Right. And went on our merry ways. Like the rest of the night was not in a fight. It was actually great. And I was like, oh, I can stop myself from
Mhm.
doing this. Now, yes, just like
Awareness, new
awareness,
action
new
equals
action.
change. Yeah,
Exactly. So, yes, that was just like Angie, much more to
yeah,
unpack and everything like that. So much more to dig into. But that awareness, if you're open to it,
right.
can really, really help change things dramatically.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
that's what I got for you.
thank you, Angie. Thank
Yeah,
you
loved your
guys.
story. I think it's great.
Thank
Keep
you.
playing with the tools.
Talk to you guys next time.